been 5 years since China imposed the so-called national security law on Hong Kong. Since then, it's been used to arrest more than 350 pro-democracy activists and political figures accused of subversion and encouraging secession. The city enjoyed substantial autonomy from Beijing before the law was introduced. Now Hong Kong's last active opposition group has announced that it is closing down. Well, Eric Yan Ho Lai is a research fellow at the Georgetown Center for Asian Law in the United States. He joins us from Washington, D.C. Welcome to DW. Is that it now? Is that the end of Hong Kong's pro-democracy movement?
The disbandment of the League of Social Democrats yesterday clearly shows that it is quite impossible for any formal political opposition forces to continue operating in Hong Kong. And it seems in the past, pro-democracy movement relied on the people as well as organizations. And now these organizations are gone due to various reasons, including mounting political pressure from Beijing and Hong Kong governments. And now the pro-democracy movement in Hong Kong, it seems, being very difficult to revive under this situation in the short term.
So difficult to revive in Hong Kong. Does that mean, is it now done completely, or does it continue from outside the territory?
It is quite impossible for people to mobilize in Hong Kong, inside Hong Kong, because the government has been using various means to crack down on pro-democracy and critical voices. And most of the pro-democracy initiatives are now set up overseas, including the rise of Hong Kong diaspora in many liberal democracies. But having said that, in response, the Hong Kong government also used the bounty warrants signed off by the court to target dissidents overseas and to harass not just these overseas exile activists, but their family members who are still living in Hong Kong.
OK, so in person in the territory, the movement is now effectively dead and activists are being pursued overseas. So it sounds like that's it, it's done, Beijing has won.
That is exactly what Beijing wants, is to silence Hong Kong in the face of being a merely economic city. And anyone in Hong Kong, if they wished to be a pro-democracy activist, they could be stigmatized. They may lose their jobs, they could not find employers, or they will continue to be surveilled by people using the national security hotline to report their behavior, and eventually they could get into trouble because of all these practices of a police state in Hong Kong. OK, and so life is hard for people who are politically active. What about people who aren't politically active? What is everyday life in Hong Kong like for them? In the past, even for people who are not active in the pro-democracy movement, they could freely express their views on government policies and to be vigilant to government misconduct, and they would bring it to the public domain. But now, because of the national security law enactment, including the government's frequent use of charges like sedition, secession, or colluding with foreign forces, people in Hong Kong were afraid of expressing their sentiment as well as their opinions towards unpopular government policies. This is not beneficial to both the government of Hong Kong as well as to the people. When you cannot navigate the public grievance or the public sentiment, the government would lose their capacity to know the demands of the people, to know the needs of the people, and eventually tensions would rise.
So it sounds like, if I understand you correctly, Hong Kong has gone from being this sort of special island of capitalism within China to conditions there, political conditions there, being worse in Hong Kong than the rest of mainland China.
It is quite ironic that China repeatedly asked and called Hong Kong to remain its openness, its common law system, and its market economy. But in the end, because of the national security law, it is losing attractions from Western counterparts. And now Hong Kong has become a sanction evasion hub for authoritarian regimes like Russia or Iran to to use Hong Kong as a port for their economic and financial benefits. And in this sense, the capitalism in Hong Kong is now becoming more authoritarian rather than being a liberal and democratic state.
Right. So it's just the authoritarian regimes now who are capitalising on Hong Kong's on the idea of Hong Kong being a little slice of capitalism within China. This is now for the repressive regimes rather than the free markets around the world.
It is not how we understand a free market where free competition can exist, where free information can flourish in this market economy. But rather, we have seen actually there were incidents when China was displeased with deals made by famous Hong Kong companies like Chairperson when they attempt to sell their ports in Palama and draw a big fire by China.
OK, thanks for talking us through that, Eric. Eric Yang Ho Lai from the Georgetown Centre for Asian Law. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we can now speak to Emily Lau. She's a former chair of the Democratic Party, which was once the flagship in the pro-democracy camp in Hong Kong, but has essentially been forced to dissolve. Emily joins us from Hong Kong. Emily, what are your thoughts for your colleagues of the League of Social Democrats today?
Well, of course, I feel very sad and very upset. And it's really terrible that, civil society has, well, I wouldn't say completely collapsed. Otherwise, I would not be able to talk to you right now. But it seems many voices have been shut out. And as you said, my party is in the process of closing down. So it is very sad. And under Beijing's policy of one country, two systems, Hong Kong people are supposed to enjoy the right of forming political parties, taking part in elections, press freedom, and all those things, which we have enjoyed since 1997 for a number of years. But then in the past few years, things have gone, quite wrong. And many people have fled, many are in prison, and people kept asking me, how come I have not yet been arrested? So it is, the atmosphere is not very good at all.
Do you fear personally to get arrested anytime soon?
Well, of course, if I tell you now that I will not be arrested, I think you will laugh. No, but of course, I'm not that afraid. Otherwise, I would have left Hong Kong. But anything can happen to me. And I always remember what Professor Johannes Chan of the Hong Kong University Law Faculty said. Johannes is now in the UK. He said, if you don't agree with the law, you can criticize it, but don't break the law. I try not to, but as many people have said, they just don't know where the red lines are. So you may think you have not broken the law, but others may think differently. So, well, we do our best, and I speak out. When journalists here and overseas, when they interview me, I speak my mind and hope for the best.
Many of your colleagues, as you've mentioned, have been detained or imprisoned. Can you tell us about some of those cases?
Yeah, there are many of them, some from my party and many from other groups and so on. And they have been there for many, many years, over 1,000 days and more. And some have not yet even got their trial, like the case of the Patriotic Alliance, which organized the candlelight vigil on June 4th every year in Victoria Park, attended by hundreds of thousands of people. And their case, subverting the state, the trial, may begin in November. But in the meantime, some of them have been locked up for over 1,000 days. So sometimes you say, well, justice delayed is justice denied. It is very sad. And I try to visit my friends in jail. I try to go to court when the trials take place. and to meet their relatives and friends, to support them. I think that's the least we can do, and to talk to the international community. And but I can tell you, people feel very stressed, and some of them are quite frightened.
Do you think the pro-democracy movement in Hong Kong is dead?
Well, I don't think it's dead, but I think we cannot take part in elections. But as I said, I'm still talking to you in my capacity as former chair of the Democratic Party and former Democratic Party legislator. So we do our best. Never say never. I mean, if you say the situation here is not good, of course it isn't. But it's not half as bad as Gaza or as Ukraine or as many countries in Africa and so on. So, well, we do our best and we try. We hope to fight for a free and democratic Hong Kong. I may not see it in my lifetime, but others will carry on.
In hindsight, very briefly, did the democratic movement in Hong Kong, you and your friends, ever stand a chance of winning against China?
Maybe not. We are so small, but we do our best. And we're doing it in the context of one country, two systems, a policy that Beijing gave us. I didn't write that. Beijing promised us that. And they told the UN and told the international community. We think we are acting in accordance with that, but so many people ended up in jail. It's terrible.
Emily Lau, thank you very much.
Thank you.